Baton Rouge, Baton Rouge. I'm gonna get me some alligator shoes.
This episode is powered by Mesh, a strategic brand and marketing firm built on insight and creativity. For over 20 years, they've consulted with some of Baton Rouge's biggest brands. Check them out at whenwemesh.com. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Alligator Shoes. I am your host, Michael Hackett. And once again, I'd just like to say thank you to all the text messages and phone calls and emails that we've been receiving about Alligator Shoes. You know, it means a lot, and I know that people are responding to this podcast about Baton Rouge positivity. I think we need it, especially right now. So keep them coming and tell your friends about it, and like us on Facebook and all the social media, Instagram, and of course Spotify and YouTube. So I really appreciate it. And today we've got another very special guest, another very good friend of mine, who is the CEO of Mesh, ad agency, marketing, advertising, strategy, and all kind of stuff. Taylor Bennett, welcome, man. It's good to have you on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. I
so
appreciate
listen,
it.
you and I we've been friends for a long time.
We talk at least once a day.
Yes, we do. And your story is fascinating. Your business is booming, and it has been, but it hadn't always been easy. But you've gotten to a point in life where you're kind of even spreading your wings a little more. But before we get there, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got here.
Well, so I'm actually, my family is from Avoyelles Parish.
Okay.
And when I was 2, my mom and I moved to Baton Rouge, and kind of started our life here in Baton Rouge. And my mom was somebody who I've learned a lot from.
Uh-huh.
You know, just how to interact with people, the value of relationships, serving people. She's just amazing, has just like this servant heart. And you know, I don't necessarily live up to that all the time, but you know, she really has taught me growing up what it really means to be a true friend and to give and to give back. And so grew up here. I'll say, like, I always kind of walked to the beat of a different drum.
Sure.
Growing up, I had this creative kind of spirit that I didn't really know how to cultivate, and I think that happens to a lot of kids. You know, growing up, they get, you know, they look around and they might be thinking and acting different than people around them, and they're like, you know, what's wrong?
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with me?
Right.
And so, I think through my high school years, I probably didn't use that to the most constructive manner.
Mm-hmm.
And
wasn't that pretty typical of maybe a kid that? Were you into sports?
I was until high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you probably a skateboarder kind of.
I was a skater.
Yeah, go down that route a little bit, and then so you probably got a little mischievous.
Kind of. Yeah. Oh yeah. Counterculture.
Uh-huh.
You know, always looking for kind of like the different kind of alternative route,
Uh-huh.
and you know, wasn't really aware of art or design or anything like that growing up. It just wasn't something that I knew existed, and that was a path forward.
Yeah.
And so when I finished high school, barely, I went and I took an aptitude test with this lady, Ursula Carmina. I don't know if you remember her.
The name is familiar, yeah.
But she had this deal. It was a Johnson O'Connor aptitude assessment deal. And that was the first time I was 18, 19 years old where I was told that I had this creative kind of mind and innovative spirit. But I also tested like really good in math, which was strange.
Two different sides of the brain, right?
Yeah. And in high school, I did not do well in math. So I'm tested really well. And so you laid out the career paths to choose, and I looked at the salaries of what a designer would make. I looked at the salaries of what an engineer would make, and I decided to go into engineering.
That fits the brand for you.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah, engineering.
Yeah.
So I went. So I enrolled at LSU, and spent 2.5 years in engineering. First trying to climb my way up into the college, and then went into engineering and went into 4 different engineering types because I'd pick one, it didn't work, I didn't like it. And I just, it was a really difficult time in my life.
Mm-hmm.
When I think back, and what I kind of draw it to is the fact that I was doing something and putting a lot of effort into something that I really was not good at.
It was never going to work.
It was never going to work. And so I remember like it was yesterday, about 2.5 years at LSU, we were taking a survey class, and we were surveying the lakes, and it was me and a partner, and he was just kind of rolling through it like it was
Easy.
nothing.
Yeah.
Easy does it. And I couldn't even figure out how to work the survey tool, much less read the output. And I just looked at the guy, and I said, "Can you imagine doing this for the rest of your life?" And he looked at me dead in the eyes, and he said, "Yeah, what else am I going to do?"
Mm.
And it was God grabbed me by the collar, took me to my car. I drove off campus, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but it's not engineering.
Mm.
And so, I was dropped out of LSU, which
Really?
Yeah, it was not a very popular decision.
Yeah. So let's go back. You mentioned your mom earlier being that guiding light in your life, and so influential to you. How did she take that news when you said I quit?
It was a big disappointment.
Yeah.
I think she couldn't believe it, and so my stepdad, my dad, they're basically I don't know what you're going to do, but you got to figure it out. And so for the first time in my life, I was on my own, totally on my own. And
Where were you living at the time?
I was living in a little 1-bedroom apartment on Jefferson Highway, and I had to figure out how to pay that rent.
Mm.
And so I went and worked at a coffee shop, and it was a startup business. It was they were starting it. They were hiring me and starting the business at the same time. And when I met with them, when I started working there, my coworker was a graphic designer, and I was like, man, I could really do this. I think I could enjoy doing this. And so I worked there for about 4 months and really got to see 2 things. I got close with this guy and understood a little bit about graphic design, but also it scratched the itch of being an entrepreneur, because I got to see the way a business got started literally from scratch, and it excited me. I was very fueled by that.
Was this after you took this what do you call
Aptitude
it? Aptitude test.
Yeah, it was.
So you had this. It was kind of in the back of your mind, maybe.
Yeah,
okay.
It was in the back of my mind, and so I worked there for 4 months. I went back to my parents and I said, "Look, I think I need to go back to school," and they sent me to this college advisor. I think her name was Adele Williamson.
A legend. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And I sat on her couch just like this for 15 minutes, and I talked to her about what I was interested in, what I enjoyed doing, and she, without any test or anything else, she said, "You need to go to Savannah College of Art and Design."
Wow.
And I was like, "Really?" And she was like, "Yes, you've got to go there. That's where you need to go." So I next week I literally flew up there by myself, went and visited the campus, and I was like, she's right. This is where I belong.
What did you think of the campus? And for our listeners that don't know about SCAD, look it up. It is the premier university or college for art and design, obviously.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I mean, it is not easy to get into. It is extremely expensive. What'd you think when you got there?
Well, the first was, how am I going to pay? How am I going to pay for this? And so, I wasn't accepted immediately. I had to go back and start drawing things, which I had never done before.
Oh, really?
I had doodled and, things like that, but I had never, thought about logo design and things that they were challenging me to put in my portfolio.
Wow.
And so I built a portfolio, and I went back, and it was not a great.
How long did it take you to build a portfolio?
About a month and a half.
Okay, of every day.
Every day, I'd put my shoes up and draw, just still lifes and just anything that I could do.
But you had no formal training?
None at all.
Not even in high school
No.
art class?
I had art a little bit.
But you weren't paying attention?
Not really.
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
What?
So I got in, and I went to my dad, my real dad, and I said, and he's an attorney.
I can imagine how this conversation.
Yeah, I said, Dad, I want to go to art and design college in Savannah. And he said, I'll pay for some of your first semester. And he, not meaning to kind of belittle me or anything, he said, look, I don't want you to be disappointed when it doesn't work. He said, these people have been doing art and design their whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And, you might come back after 6 weeks and, realize that it's another league.
Mm-hmm.
And that fueled me. I was like, okay, I'm going to show you.
Right.
And,
but he was probably also trying to protect you at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm thinking as a dad right now, that's probably what I would have told my son too.
Yeah.
And thank God it fueled you.
It did. And I loved every minute of it. I just being around that creative element, you don't realize it until you're there, but when you're around a bunch of people who are creative and who think like you, it's just a whole different experience. You can say things that, my friends here would be like,
weirdo.
That's weird. That's crazy, man. Like,
right.
What are you talking about? And you could identify with people there. And it was for the first time in my life, I was like, man, I'm pretty good at something. Like, I'm pretty good at design. Like, I took the first design course. My professor acknowledged, my talent in that. And I got some scholarships, through some of the work that I was doing while I was there. And anyway, it changed my life. It really did. And I finished school and had interviewed in New York and in Chicago, and something in me, I wanted to come back home.
Really?
Yeah. I love Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
And I know that's what your podcast is.
It is.
About.
And I was going to ask you, coming from Baton Rouge and going to Savannah, and you've already kind of said it, the different culture, maybe, I don't know if I don't think Baton Rouge is like that, but when we grew up, you were kind of an outlier.
Yeah.
And then you go to Savannah and you automatically find your people.
Right.
How was it going from just, Baton Rouge to Savannah on a level of, what were people saying to you about, Baton Rouge, tell me about Baton Rouge? What was your response when they said that?
Well, there were people from all over the world.
Yeah.
At the time, it's a small school, but, I had people from, Asia, all over the place. But there were a lot of students from the South because at the time there were two really good art schools. One was SCAD, and then the other one was Rhode Island School of Design.
Okay.
And so that was in New
That's
York.
it.
So people were familiar with Baton Rouge, but not like they were with New Orleans, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know, when I left, I think I knew that I would come back, and that's not what you see today.
Yeah.
You know, you see a whole different dynamic, and I want to change that.
Well, tell me what drew you back? What was it? Like family, friends?
Family.
Okay.
You know, I think family and friends and the people here.
Mm-hmm.
When you think, look, you and I, you
Yeah.
know, reconnecting,
Yeah.
and there is something about the people and the culture here that you cannot experience anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
It is, for me, my experience has been, and my work has taken me all over the country, all over the place. There's an authenticity of the people in Baton Rouge, and just a genuine desire to help each other
Mm-hmm.
that you don't get in other places.
Yeah.
And even at SCAD, you know, it's just like when I went to go visit these other after school, when I went to visit these agencies in New York and Chicago, not even close to the people and the culture
Mm-hmm.
here. And I knew that coming back to Baton Rouge, that a lot of the firms were hiring LSU students, and that I would have to, you know, work extra hard, which I did have to work extra hard,
Mm-hmm.
and start kind of at the bottom again.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
You mentioned, you know, encouraging our young people to come back or stay or whatever. Your mom, dad, stepdad, when you left to go, what were their expectations now that you had really embraced SCAD, doing very well there? They're recognizing that you're doing well. What were their words of advice to you when you graduated?
They wanted me to go wherever I felt had the best opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I think for me, I always knew that I wanted to start a business. Always. I mean, from the time I was a young kid.
Mm-hmm. And then your experience at the coffee shop.
Yeah.
Right.
And that just like made me even more excited about it. And so, you know, I knew that probably the easiest place for me to do that would be Baton Rouge, because of the people that I've connected with and the network that I had. And so, you know, for a brief moment, I thought, well, let me go work somewhere else and then bring that experience back. And when I was finished with SCAD, I wanted to come home. You know, I wanted to come back home. I wanted to be around my family. I wanted to be around my friends. And I was ready to start my life here in Baton Rouge.
So what does that look like? So you get home, and then what's your first steps to making this your career, your life, your family?
So, yeah, it was a challenge. I mean, my first job, I was making $9 an hour at a printer on South Choctaw.
Okay.
And I wanted to learn the printing industry because we didn't learn a whole lot about that at SCAD. And that was the only job that I could really get. And then I just kind of worked my way up. I worked at an agency, a small one-person agency, and then I worked at another small, like, one-person design firm, Design Logic, Charlotte Landry, Charlotte Boujal.
Sure. Yeah.
Who was a great mentor to me, really kind of taught me the business of design. And then I ended up at a design / advertising firm. At the time, it was called X-Force. It's now X-Design, where I worked with another amazing intern, Martin Flanagan. I mean, another amazing mentor, Martin Flanagan. And Martin really taught me how to take design and make it strategic and creative to sell things. And we had a wonderful time working together for 4 years. It was an amazing experience.
When you leave in SCAD and you got this fancy diploma, were you thinking I'm going to come back to Baton Rouge and set the world on fire? Because it doesn't sound like people were that impressed with this diploma.
They were not.
They
didn't really know. I think they saw my portfolio and saw that there was some good work there, but a lot of people were not familiar with SCAD.
Okay.
And so, and like I said, a lot of the larger companies at the time were hiring directly from LSU.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I don't blame them for that. I mean, it's in their backyard,
Right.
and they want to support the college.
And LSU has a wonderful design.
They do.
I mean,
They've got a great. We hire a ton of students from LSU.
Yeah.
You know, so, so yeah, it was I learned a lot.
So we're looking. Is this late '90s?
Yeah, I graduated in '97,
Okay.
and then I guess I started X in '99, and then after working at X for about 4 years, it was time for me to start Mesh.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, yet another, like, from the ground up. I mean, I started with one client who you're very familiar with, FMOL Health Systems.
Yeah.
We did their annual report for 13 years.
Wow.
And a guy by the name of Chris Steiner was doing the annual report, a really talented designer, and we met, and he said, I'm doing this, and I'm ready to pass it on for bigger and better things, and we took that. I had a partner when we started, and we both worked out of our houses. I had a little 10 by 10 room outside of my garage. I turned our garage into like a photo studio.
Mm.
You know, one night my wife came home from work, and it was full of guitars. We were shooting this line of guitars for Kyle Zarang,
Oh, yeah?
who was working.
I remember when he was doing Brazilian wood guitars or whatever it was.
They were beautiful guitars.
They were gorgeous.
I could look at them. I can't play
Yeah,
them.
me too, unfortunately. He can.
Yeah, oh yeah, he can play.
Shout out to the Southside Roosters.
That's right. Yeah, shout out to them for sure. So it was a humble beginning, Michael. I mean, we started, we wanted, at the time, my desire, I wanted to do the best work. You know, I mean, that was like our mission, just do the best work possible. And the work that we had done, you know, previously had brought us some other business. We landed a Medicis, and we repositioned the Medicis brand.
Mm-hmm.
We, you know, landed some work out of state that was really, really a huge opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And what it taught me is that the work that you do, if it's a quality product, and if you give good customer service, you'll get more work.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how we built Mesh, especially in the early days.
How many people did you have working for you? Like, you know, at the time when you're kind of on the cusp of blowing up, but you're still grinding.
Yeah.
Which is, you're still grinding now, by the way. I mean,
I'm grinding.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So we had, when we were in our homes, it was just the two of us.
you.
And then we decided to get an office, and just a serendipitous moment, the office, we looked in the newspaper and found an office, and it was the office that I took my aptitude test in. And we rented that sucker, and we renovated it, and we, you know, prayed that we could make rent, and we brought on another designer, and then, you know, so as people do when they start a company, you're wearing every hat, and then we got a big contract where we were buying and placing media on a national scale, and so we brought in media, and then it just kind of grew. based on the work that we did, we were just getting referrals, and it was a really exciting time. It was, you're building this business, and it was amazing. And so I started Mesh in 2003, got married that same month, and bought a house that same month. And so I just put all the pressure on at the same time.
How was your wife handling all this?
She was fine. My wife has been so supportive in my entrepreneurial kind of journey. Mm-hmm. Ginger has been amazing. Yeah. And our family has been amazing because, as you know, when you're running a business, your family has to be very supportive of that. They have to be.
That's right. So. Yeah. You have 2 boys?
I have a boy and a girl. 2. So I've got 2 boys.
How are they involved in Mesh, or are they involved in Mesh?
So they're involved just by being around.
Proximity.
There's so much talk about, our business just at the dinner table and things like that. So they're involved. My son actually interned at Mesh for a while, and he's got a finance degree, John Taylor, JT. And he is right now focusing on our property. We've got a little bit of real estate, mm-hmm. which has been a fun thing to do too. And so he's doing that. And then Grace interned last summer at Mesh. And just, I look at it as a blessing to be able to show your kids, just a business mm-hmm. and how it operates. And not many people can do that.
That's
unless
right.
you own a business. But
well, tell me what does Mesh look like today?
So in 2011, I bought my partner out. He was like, man, you want to grow, and I'm good. Mm-hmm. So we had an amicable buyout. I bought him out, and I kind of changed my perspective and my passion from, okay, I want to do the best work possible, to I want to start mentoring people to do great work. Mm-hmm. And so that's when Mesh really started growing. So at the time, we had about 9 or 10 people. Today we have close to 25 people. Mm-hmm. And it's a great company. Mm-hmm. It's a great culture, I would say. Yeah. I think our team is amazing. We have just some really, really smart people that work at Mesh, most I would say from Baton Rouge, mm-hmm. And a lot from out of the LSU mm-hmm. college. And we're here in Baton Rouge. Our home office is here in Baton Rouge. And like I mentioned earlier, we've done business kind of all over the place, mainly in the southeast states. But our clients have taken us all over the country.
Is there any particular brands that you might be able to share with us, or success stories that you fell in love with? Like, look where it was before Mesh entered, and look where they are now.
Yeah. I just, locally, I would say one of the things that I kind of secretly focus on is helping to enhance the image of Baton Rouge through the brands that we are involved in.
Right.
So, I would say one that it's been a minute, but Woman's Hospital,
sure.
when we got to be involved in their move, and we did some, really creative work for their 85-acre bundle of joy.
Yeah, I remember that.
And
I remember seeing billboards all over town.
Yeah. We did a 9-month countdown, and then it was late, so then we changed everything to this baby's worth of weight. And I think what we enjoy doing is basically bringing ideas, whether it be digital or strategic, creative, to clients that they're like, man, it makes so much sense, but I would have never thought of that. And it's just seeing that smile on a client's face when you present work like that. It's fun, you know.
Is there a particular industry, whether it's hospitals or restaurants or I don't know, that are just completely in your wheelhouse? So you go, oh, we can do this with our eyes closed.
Yeah. So hospitality and tourism. I was in healthcare. We do a lot in both of those spaces. We do a lot in banking, finance, insurance, and then a lot in building materials and home improvement.
Oh, tell me more about that.
So we worked with a company called Oldcastle for 22 years, and we worked with their architectural product division, and we're able to do a lot of work in the home category business, and got a lot of experience in that. It was a really great experience for us.
Where do you see mesh going in the future with, like, I know y'all are looking at different partnerships, bringing on outside consultants, like, you and I have talked a lot about the box that mesh is, but kind of expanding your services a little bit into other markets and other ideas.
Yeah, I think, as the market evolves, we have to evolve with it. And 3 years ago, I hired Noah Boudreau, who's great, great guy, and it was kind of an accidental hire for what's happening with technology. But it's worked out really well because his background is technology. He's run technology companies, and he's been able to bring, AI and some of the technical aspects of what marketing provides into what we do. And it's been a really neat and fun experience. I think anything that we can do to offer value to our clients, we want to do.
Well, here's $1 million question. When you mentioned AI, what does it do to a graphic design firm, a media? I mean, like, how are you guys, because it's here and you can't be scared of it, so how are you embracing it, and how are you encouraging your customers to embrace it instead of being scared of it?
Look, I mean, throughout the 30 years I've been doing this, websites came on board, stock houses, stock photography, stock video. To me, this is another evolution in it, and you've got to use it and use it safely. Make sure it's secure. But from and we have AI implemented in a lot of what we do, but there's the human element. Right. Like our work is going out and speaking to humans, it's not speaking to computers, so everything, we call it the human element at Mesh. Everything that we do, the human element has to be involved in. And, and it has to, because even, the AI models, no matter how you build them, like we've got some research tools and things like that. No matter how you build them, they're not even close to perfect or accurate. Right. So you really have to have a consultant kind of look at that, make sure that it's right, and also to enhance whatever that output is in a big way. I mean, it might be 30 to 50% there. And there's a lot more that you have to do to make it what it needs to be. Yeah. So I think it's, from my perspective, I think it's far from, just totally like infiltrating on what we do, but we're embracing it because you really need to move at the speed and efficiency that clients expect.
Well, you were so generous to help me with the Alligator Shoes logo, and we're still just kind of playing with it and taking it slow. But I had sent you some ideas from AI, and there was a great starting point.
Right.
But now that I've done that work on ChatGPT and played around with logos and just had fun with it, I can pick out an AI logo like that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it doesn't take long.
Yeah.
Not saying it won't ever catch up, but like you're saying, it was great for me to at least do my own research and then send it to you, the expert, and say, this is what I'm thinking. And then you were able to completely break it apart, put it back together with real people.
Yeah.
And it looks brilliant. But anyway.
I think it just helps you get there quicker, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's, and I think that's what we're talking to our staff about and our clients. I mean, it helps you get there quicker. The cost for certain services is more reasonable because of that.
Yeah.
And and from a business perspective, people want high quality and they want it at a reasonable rate, right? And so it helps us kind of figure that out in some of our services.
Yeah.
But there's still a lot of things that we do not ever want to just, especially we don't generate any final output AI from a design perspective. Right. We might use it for a storyboard, whereas before we were kind of sketching all that out. We might use it for ideation, but we're not submitting a logo that's generated in AI.
Yeah.
There's too much at risk for a company. Mm-hmm. It's got to be original. So.
Shifting gears a little bit, you recently, Mesh, did a rebrand of a really iconic company in Baton Rouge, and it's beautiful. How do you enjoy rebranding? Because you're not creating something from scratch. You're taking in, and there's a certain process that you have to go to. I'd love for you to explain to the listeners about the process of rebranding, because it's probably, and I would imagine it's sometimes more difficult than just starting it from scratch in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Well, it is, because companies, you're talking about GMFS.
GMFS, yeah.
And what an amazing company, right? With just a long history of community service and involvement, and just a great company. And when they come to you and they're asking you to reposition their brand, you've got to do it in a very delicate way, because there's a lot of heritage that and brand equity that supports where they are now, and you've got to do a lot of research and really visiting, like you and I are doing, to understand, okay, what is a reason for the rebrand? Why do you want to take it to the next level? Mm-hmm. And should it be something that's an evolution of what you currently have, or should it be something that is very different? Mm-hmm. And so based on, we do what's called a brand summit. It's a day of vision, and it's amazing. Companies walk away with just a great feeling about where their company can be moving forward. But we get a lot of information that helps us figure out where we need to go from an internal perspective. And then, a lot of research, and it's not something that we take lightly, because it is the image of a company. It is the visual and verbal representation of a company. And so we spend a lot of time to make sure it's right.
Yeah. Well, it's beautiful. And speaking of GMFS Mortgage and their commitment to Baton Rouge and the community outreach that they've done over the years, you also recently did something for the Baton Rouge Area Chamber, which is now the Greater Baton Rouge Economic Partnership, and our friend Lori Melanson, the Better in BTR campaign, which Lori was recently on this podcast, and we talked about Better in BTR and really what it means to Baton Rouge. What she was trying to do with it is Better in BTR belongs to everybody. It doesn't belong to the partnership. It doesn't belong to the chamber. It belongs to you. It belongs to me. It belongs to Gordon.
Right.
Everybody here. It belongs to everybody. And tell me how you designed this beautiful commercial and all your involvement in that, and what Better in BTR means to you, and then how do we get more people talking about it, using it, putting BTR on your bumper sticker, I'm sorry, a bumper sticker on your car, and like building that grassroots feeling that I think Lori is really going for, and obviously that is right up my alley.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
It's up mine. One of the things that we have done for a long time at Mesh, we want to be involved in the community. And when we had this opportunity, and we do a lot of pro bono work, as you know, and we want difference makers in the community. We want to be behind them, and Lori is a difference maker.
For sure.
I worked with her 20 years ago when she was with Stephen Moray at BRAC in marketing, and when she requested that we present and pitch that campaign, it was just an honor to be able to do that and work with her again. Lori is a really smart person, and she is very passionate about getting this city into a position where it's very in a very good position to do very well. And we're well on our way with that. But the Better in BTR campaign it's an open source campaign. Anybody, any company can use it. And from our perspective, the brand itself had to be simple and easy and to recognize. And so we worked with Laurie and Morgan, who's at BRAC, or the partnership as well. And we just got to work to do this campaign, and it's just an honor. I mean, it's an honor to be able to be involved in stuff like that. It's like Visit Baton Rouge is another example.
Yeah, Jill Kidder.
Oh my gosh, she's amazing. And that whole marketing team, they built an amazing in-house marketing group that just fires me up, because I know what we are capable of producing with them. And I mean, we've been on that account since 2015, and you know what happened in 2016. Yeah. And so that's an honor as well. And you just anything that Mesh can do to enhance the image of this city, we want to be involved in. That is our whole team is super passionate about that.
Well, that kind of brings us to our last two questions, because perfect time. You've mentioned the word honor a lot when you talk about Baton Rouge. So, Taylor, what does it feel like to be a Baton Rougean?
I love it. I really, for me, it's an honor. Baton Rouge has done so much for my business. The reason why we're even existing is because of all the businesses that we worked with in Baton Rouge. I truly believe that. We've done a lot of work outside the state, but the businesses in Baton Rouge, even so-called competitors, there is this common, it's just a connection, that people have in Baton Rouge. And it's that Cajun ingenuity. We want to help each other. We want to help each other be successful. And that success, it means a lot in a lot of different ways to a lot of different people. And, it's if you call me to meet with somebody, I'm going to meet with them. Yeah. I want to help that person. And you don't see that in other places around the country the way you do here in Baton Rouge.
Agreed.
There is a unique desire for people to help other people here, and it's just an innate part of who we are.
I love it.
As people.
That's a perfect answer. Who do you want to pass the baton to?
Well, so I'm going to pass the baton to Jill Kidder.
Great idea. Visit Baton Rouge.
Jill, I texted her yesterday. I said, can I pass the baton to you? Because I know Michael's going to ask me this. And she said, I would be honored. Jill is a true champion for Baton Rouge. And what an amazing leader.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
I can't wait.
And really a dear friend.
That is awesome. Jill Kidder, Alligator Shoes is coming for you. Taylor Bennett, thank you so much for being my friend. And coming on the show. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Special thanks to Brandon, the producer, Gordon Kernan. Will Helmers is in the house watching us. Follow him on Instagram. You talk about a great follow on Instagram. Louisiana Loaded is awesome. Give him a follow. I love seeing all the stuff he's doing. He's a LSU legend in the baseball sport that we all love so much. So give him a follow. And thank you so much for listening. We're creating a movement, and we want you to be a part of it. So tell your friends, and we'll see you next time on Alligator Shoes. I'm Michael Hackett. Thanks. Bye-bye.
I like crawfish, I like rice, and I like girls that treat you nice. Hey, I'm gonna find me one in Baton